we found out it's all about the way kids learn, that they learn different ways. And we're forcing them to learn one specific way. Whereas what VR does is give them a chance to get hands-on and go to a place and awaken spatial memory. In that way, they'll not only learn, but they'll retain what they learn. Because what VR does is put you in a place. It puts a place inside of you by putting you in a place. It's like the difference between looking at a television program of Disneyland versus going to Disneyland. If you go to Disneyland, you never forget it. I guess you'd say my life has sort of been like a play with 4 acts. You know, there was the act 1, which was growing up in this amazing place in western North Carolina, bordering on the Pisgah National Forest. And I love the outdoors. I lived in a village with lots of kids. My father worked at a plant, a rayon nylon plant close by, and it was an idyllic childhood. It was perfect. We played in the woods. We had snowball fights, acorn fights, and I went to great schools, had great friends. So I was blessed in that way. And but I was sort of a nerdy kid too. Even though I liked to play sports, I was sort of a nerd. I loved, for some reason, I got interested in electronics and science and things like that. And I remember that I was 7 years old. I would get the opportunity to go over to my grandfather's house and actually spend a couple of weeks just with my grandfather. And I was really interested in robots. I'd read science fiction stuff and things like that. I was interested in robots. And so what I would do is take these cardboard boxes in my Rector set, and I would make my own control panels that out of cardboard and move the switches around. And then I said, this is how I want to control my robot. And then I built a box that was the robot. And then I said, well, wait a minute. If I'm remotely controlling the robot, how can I be where the robot is? And I said, well, what I'll do is pretend that the robot has a head, has eyes and ears. And I built a box with toilet paper rolls with the eyes and the ears for this robot. And then inside the house where my control panel was, I built a box and put it on my head. And the box on my head had the relay of the picture that the robot was seeing into my eyes and what the robot was hearing. This is 7 years old now. I'd forgotten about that I had been doing that until one day when I was sitting in my virtual cockpit, realizing, oh my goodness, this is deja vu all over again. Now, here I am, having gone through these 2 acts into the 3rd act. The first act being growing up and going to university. Second act, the U.S. Air Force, which was fantastic. And then the University of Washington. And I just went emeritus at the University of Washington in September. Now I'm an emeritus professor, but I don't teach. I'm not in the classroom like I used to be. So now I'm in transition to the 4th act at 79 years old. And I am so excited. That's now one of the areas where I'm concentrating in this 3rd phase, because this is transformative. We're working on a global movement that actually lifts humanity through the virtual world society. Some of these are high school dropouts. Some of them are university faculty. Others are students. And it's so fun because we're inventing and discovering so many far out cool things. And then the 3rd part of my 4th phase, my 4th act, about the story of my journey and the amazing people that I encountered along the way, and the projects that we did and what we learned. I've spent more time in VR than anybody on the planet, and I've learned a lot. And I want to tell the story of what I've learned and how I learned it, and what does it mean, and where do we go from here.
Virtual reality and emerging tech can be really intimidating. These type of technologies aren't just intimidating because they're new to some of the communities that I take them to, but because I work in communities that don't have access to a lot of things in general. So when I bring something, sometimes there's a standoffishness. Sometimes people are a little nervous about interacting with me. But I build a lot on the trust of just connecting to people as humans. Sometimes, even in the deepest relationships that I have with people, they're too embarrassed to let me into their homes even. They are happy to interact with me at school. They're happy to interact with me within the community or even at my house. But what their hope is that one day they can come back and show me how they've been able to change their lives, because they're not as confident about the lives that they live now, but they know that they want something more, and they know that the things that the Virtual World Society can offer them through their programs can make a different, better world for themselves and for the people that they love.
Seeing as how the community that we come from is so underfunded, and there's so low wages, and there's a lot of poverty, to just be like completely honest. There's a lot of poverty and stuff like that. And so this is something that myself and others would never think about having, because this is like, this and other technology you just don't have the money for. So you just don't even get your hopes up for it at all. And so that's why you don't learn about stuff like this.
I think that the reason this exists is because of the poverty level in the Native community. They just don't have it. Like, people are getting their electricity turned off, and they go to the tribe, and the tribe will help them to keep it on. You know, I don't hear of very many non-Native families that are like, my electricity is gonna get cut off, you know, and so it's a very real thing to us in our world, but not necessarily in other people's world.
Well, I think one of the struggles would be also out here is being able to afford the internet it takes to make VR possible, and also being able to afford it, because not everybody, we've been blessed, you know, with a husband who loves to play on Craigslist and Facebook yard sale sites and stuff. That's how we actually bought our very first VR headset. But, you know, to you, honestly, even me, I am not an elderly person yet, but I still have questions.
Yeah, money thing is really the only issue, but that's it. I mean, you could probably take an area of like 5 miles or so, and it's just maybe a few people, a handful group. I think Rita's what, 1 or 2 miles away? And she's one of the only few people that we know that aren't crackheads, you know, that are in this area.
You know, there's that digital divide, is that these guys feel like, and some of it's feeling and some of it's I can't, because I literally don't have the resources. And those that are like, the possibilities are endless. I can get the resources, I can get the training, and they go with it. And then you just, in the Native community, you just leave them behind because they don't have those things.
A lot of the programs that get funded through the Virtual World Society help people magnify themselves in existing situations. So we have employers that maybe have given responsibility to their employees, but not the technical skills that they need, or even the technology they need in order to really do their job to the best of their abilities. And so we provide that technology and that training and that space for people to feel comfortable to take the next step in their employment journey. The other thing that happens, I find a lot, is that there are personality developments in people. While we do a lot to create better working environments and give people the technology and the skills that they need in order to improve themselves, what's really happening is that they're transforming as a person. Here's what has happened. We have rural young people who don't have access even to visit friends. Now they have friends online. We have people in technical jobs that don't have a headset to learn how to do their jobs better. Now they have a headset and they're doing their jobs better.
I'm glad that we have people like you and like Virtual World Society and stuff that can come and give us this experience, because this isn't stuff that we don't find this at home. You might find this in bigger schools, bigger communities and stuff, but we won't ever.
For me, the biggest thing is I see through my work, through my family, that Native kids are always left behind. And so they're always saying like, I really wish I could have this. And you know, as their parents, you know, me and their parents were just like, we can't afford that. We don't know how to use that, you know. And so now it's like, okay, I can start. I can start using this. We're not perfect, you know. You'll have to do a lot of practice and whatnot. And they're like, well, can we come over and hang out? And we're like, yeah, you know, we want to share because they don't have that opportunity.
With the resources I have been given, has at least made some kind of change in my community and brought this technology to a little small town that would probably turn their nose up at it.
I would tell Tom Furness that it helped me out in like discovering more about technology and about all this stuff I never would have known.
What would you tell? I would tell Tom, thank you very much for this experience for her, because it has brought her out of her shell a little bit, you know, her nervousness and being able to talk. Basically, she didn't talk very much, but it's opened up a new world for her.
Why should they give us more headsets?
I could be talking, like a while ago, I was talking to people from Florida, Washington, Oregon. It allows the person to break out of the loop, I would say. You know, those people aren't going to be able to get, you know, into those things every day. You know, this is going to be their one chance. If they miss out, it's fine. You providing headsets, I guess, was that one ticket for me, and I took it. You know. I was able to unlock a new path.
We have put thousands of people in virtual reality headsets, helped numerous families join the metaverse through VR across the United States. Since 2015, we have been working to build solid relationships with families, especially in rural and impoverished areas. I have seen firsthand how this technology can help make the world a better place, and can only hope that more families and people can gain access to new emerging opportunities through the Virtual World Society and our Home Spark and Skill Spark program. Let me add that these families have spent countless hours in the virtual worlds that we have provided for them, allowing them to gain more knowledge and have fun at the same time than they could ever do from being in a brick and mortar school.
Greetings and welcome to day 2 of GatherVerse Summit 2023. We're so happy to have everyone with us. I'm happy to call forth on the stage to join us Dr. Tom Furness and Dr. Angelina Dayton of Virtual World Society. Before they join us, we'd like to say thank you to everyone who is helping make this possible. Take your screenshots, share this message of what we've arrived here today to meet at the intersection of technology and humanity, to focus on our next steps on how we take proactive and successful and necessary focus points when dealing with accessibility, education, equality, equity, community development, safety, privacy, wellness, ethics. We want the best of the technologies that we build today and that our future generations will undoubtedly use tomorrow. May our gather be well. Tom, Dr. Dayton, we're happy to have you. Thank you so much for this inspiring piece that you've allowed us to share here at GatherVerse Summit. What more can you say?
You're a good man, Chris. Thanks for inviting us. And um, Angelina, you're going to be running the show here, so I'm just going to do what you tell me to do.
First I wanted to thank Christopher for allowing us to come and talk, because we are very much humanity first also at Virtual World Society, and we are so honored to be a part of GatherVerse. So thank you for inviting us and giving us a platform to talk about how our goals and vision align very closely with what you do, Christopher. So thank you.
Absolutely. We're certainly happy to have you join us here at the GatherVerse community and our close partnership and relationship, and how we all looking at the focal point of technology being community, at the center in the middle of it all. Can you share with all of us, with the short few minutes that we do have together, what is the Virtual World Society?
Yeah, that was my first question for Tom. Actually, I was going to ask him first because I was very curious about the video, what it was like to be the grandfather of virtual reality. And I know it led to creating the Virtual World Society, but I wanted to ask you first, because there was so much about your history in the film. What was it like to be the grandfather, Tom?
Well, first of all, I'm not sure how this happened, how I got this name, but I'm not the grandfather of virtual reality. I'm a grandfather of virtual reality. There's a lot of people, involved in the evolution of this technology. And I began in 1966 working on this and have continuously worked on it for that period of time. Some of the other early guys sort of dropped out along the way, but I've been sort of sticking with it. And so I guess that's why I've got this moniker of it. But in terms of the way I feel, actually it's joy of seeing this technology that we've worked on for all these years, and the understanding we've gotten in terms of the power of the technology actually now being used in this gathering. And the one last year, this time, gave us a chance to see, oh my goodness, look at all the people that are not only excited about the technology, but excited about what we can do with the technology. And that in the end game is what it's about, is actually doing good stuff with it. So it feels really good. And I'm just happy that I can still be vertical and, and continue to enjoy this journey with everyone.
So this led to creating the Virtual World Society, and I have a lot of fun there too. It feels good all the time to do the work. You saw me in the video, all of the people that we work with, and what joy it is to make a difference in their lives. So, tell us, why you decided to create the Virtual World Society, and like Christopher said, what is it? What does it do?
Well, I mean, when in the early days, when it began to dawn on me, when I was working for the Air Force, and where we were inventing this new stuff, it began to unfold and dawn on me, what this can do beyond what I was working on in the military, to lift the lives of people worldwide, and provide a means for linking our minds and hearts together. And what I have tried to do is taking another approach where we're trying to center ourselves on what is really happening in our civilization, and where can we make them have the most impact in terms of humanitarian applications, because there's suffering humanity. Let's face it, there are a lot of problems we have. The 17 Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations point out these areas. And I thought that one of the biggest things that we could do is become one, at least from different perspectives, become one, focusing on these things. And that in a way is what the GatherVerse is doing, to bring these voices together so we can listen to what's happening. So I originally started Virtual World Society in 1993. And at that time, I was concerned that the industry isn't going to treat it well. It's the dystopian movies that were coming out with VR. This would be the first exposure people had to VR, and it wasn't correct. It was a really negative, dark look at it. And I decided we needed something that was the positive side, because I knew what it would do from an educational, a medical, wellness, enterprise, design, all these things. I knew it could be used for to lift humanity, just like fire. Fire has lifted humanity, but it can also burn us. We just have to be careful the way we use it. So I started this, but it was very clear at that time, even though we had several hundred people involved, and especially young people involved in it, cost 500 grand just to get a computer fast enough to run this. And the headsets were really expensive. It was not going to happen in a big way. So I put it on the shelf for a while and revisited it until 2015, when the original Oculus Rift came out. And that was time. I knew that was the time to redo it. So the idea of the Virtual World Society is to encourage the development of these immersive computing technologies and their associated technologies, like AI and the telecommunications behind it, and standards and things like that, but to direct it toward humanitarian applications, with the idea that this is a charity. This is a 501c3. We are objective, and we want to be the heart, sort of the heartbeat and the conscience of this industry, and the bellwether to say, okay, hey guys, remember these things, that what we're really about. And it's about lifting humanity and to do no harm. And so those were the motivations I had originally, and as we put together the plan in 2015.
And that's, I think, what I get to do working with you, and what we saw in the video through HomeSpark is doing no harm and trying to lift humanity in small ways, making possibilities. And we showed a little bit about what HomeSpark does, but you have a HomeSpark vision that you've been trying to bring about. And we're doing it in small ways. I encourage people to become members of the Virtual World Society so they can learn more about HomeSpark. And through their donations, we can do a lot of good. And so tell me a little bit more about what donations to Virtual World Society and HomeSpark programs make possible.
Well, I mean, one of the things that became clear along the journey, and I was influenced a lot by this TED Talk given by I'm now spacing on it. Chris, you help me. I showed you this video.
It was about education.
About education, right? About education, and about it'll pop into my head. That's what
it was. Sir something, sir, yeah. Somebody.
That's right. And so I felt that what we need to consider is that our children are the greatest natural resource that we have on the earth, and their imagination, their creativity is what's going to save our civilization in the end. And that we should be concentrating everything that we can to help lift them and help them to realize how much power they do have and how much capability. I don't care what their demographics are, their nationalities, ethnicity, any of those. I've never seen a dumb kid. I mean, and so the question is, what do we do? What is our institutional education doing for them? And unfortunately, it doesn't really help a lot of the kids, because that original spark, and especially their imagination, doesn't get developed after they start going to school. Now, that's not to say that schools aren't good and we're going to get rid of schools. What it means is that they need to be on fire before they go to school, and believe in themselves and know the kinds of, and be willing to explore their talents. And so the HomeSpark was to try to be a complementary activity to help equip the kids to go to school Yes, you're going to have to learn the times tables. You're going to have to do those kind of things, which you're going to learn in school. But the superpowers, the human superpowers, they're born with imagination, curiosity, creativity, and love, empathy, compassion. Those kind of things happen in the home or in whatever a situation they are as young people. And so the question is, how could we concentrate on that? And that is really the impetus for HomeSpark. HomeSpark is trying to do that by reaching into families worldwide and providing them this tool of virtual reality and its connectivity to actually move their minds and unlock their intelligence. And I think you saw in the movie that this is just one example of that, with indigenous people who've been lifted by what we can do. And the HomeSpark project is to now, let's go to 100 families, let's go to 1,000 families. And our goal in 5 to 10 years is 10 million families. They're a part of the HomeSpark project, where they have individual mentors, and they have the technology, and they have the opportunity for them to grow and connect as families with other families worldwide to direct their attention to how do we solve these problems. And so this is the way we feel, or I feel, and I think collectively in the Virtual World Society, we feel, this is the way we become one. If we start working on projects together, and we have these mechanisms for moving our minds. That's what is going to happen in the metaverse. We're moving minds into places where we can do these things.
And
so,
I know we're almost out of time, but I do want to say, yes, when I work with families, Tom, what they say is anything is possible. The children say, and that believing that before they join school or society, and then coming together as a community and saying anything is possible really changes people's lives. And so we really encourage everyone in the little bit of time we have left to go to virtualworldsociety.org and become a member. If you can make a small donation, it'll work towards getting to the 10 million families. We're really excited about GatherVerse and the place that you've created here, Christopher, and we support you 100%.
Absolutely.
And so, Tom, thank you for sharing everything today. Thank you, Christopher, for inviting us. And if anybody has any questions, please reach out at virtualworldsociety.org. There's places where you can get more information. So
thank you so much, Dr. Dayton. Thank you so much, Dr. Furness. We're so happy to have you with us. We hope that you continue to join us for day 2 and day 3 of GatherVerse Summit. Thank you.
Thank you.
To the audience listening at home, prepare to explore. We have a lot to cover in a little bit of time that we're given. We're about to be joined with the panel that will be upcoming in a matter of moments.